to the TokyoBill Weekly Update. Stories around Japan of interest to me, TokyoBill. Today is November 15th, 2025. Cosmetics giant Shiseido has downgraded its earnings forecast for 2025, expecting a record net loss of 52 billion yen, or $337 million, due to slow sales in the United States. This projection was shared along with the company's financial results for the first 9 months of the year. Net sales for the first 3 quarters fell by 4% to 694 billion yen, while the net loss was 44 billion yen, attributed to poor performance from its Drunk Elephant brand and a Q3 impairment loss in its Americas operations. Shiseido also announced an early retirement program targeting 200 participants as part of structural reforms. President Kentaro Fujiwara mentioned the need for more focused investments and a commitment to reforms aimed at achieving sustainable growth. It's just 2 years until the ban on fluorescent lights in many countries takes effect, but a survey by Panasonic shows that over 40% of consumers in Japan are unaware of this. The survey found that only 8% immediately replaced their lights with LEDs upon hearing the news, and that over 61% still use fluorescent lights, preferring to wait until the last minute. 43% said they had not yet heard about the phase-out. This suggests a surge in demand for LED lighting may take place towards the end of 2027. Panasonic warns that light substitution should include replacement of fixtures, as incorrect equipment matching may be a fire hazard, as reported by the National Institute of Technology and Evaluation. Industry groups recommend replacing older fixtures entirely. Tokyo's Board of Education has established new guidelines to protect teachers from unreasonable demands and abusive behavior from parents, known colloquially as monster parents. The guidelines propose limiting meetings with parents to 30 minutes and including multiple teachers to facilitate constructive communication. Parents insisting on a third meeting will involve administrative personnel, and from the fourth meeting, additional professionals such as lawyers or psychologists are to be brought in. An April survey of 12,000 teachers indicated that 22% experienced socially questionable treatment from parents, adding to their workloads and overtime. The education sector was identified as having the third highest percentage of overworked staff in Japan in a recent white paper. In March 2015, Dr. Masahide Kaneyama, an ethnic Korean Japanese national living in the United States, was accused of vandalism at historic Japanese religious sites after surveillance footage showed him applying oil to wooden pillars and offering boxes. His legal troubles escalated following YouTube videos where he spoke about anointing shrines, prompting Japanese authorities to issue arrest warrants. Kaneyama's lawyers argue he did not cause damage and claim he faces religious persecution as a Christian in Japan, contesting his extradition on grounds of insufficient evidence. The U.S. federal court announced last month that they will soon decide on his extradition, which could lead to a trial and imprisonment in Japan. Dr. Kaneyama, now 63, remains active with his local church community and continues to treat women suffering from endometriosis. Japanese tech company Kyocera has created underwater optical communications (UWOC) technology for fast, short-distance wireless communication, achieving speeds of up to 5.2 gigabits per second in laboratory conditions. This is much quicker than traditional acoustic systems. They developed a specialized laser and an optical front-end circuit that converts light into electrical signals at bandwidths over double that of their competitors. With this technology, underwater drones can allow real-time data streaming, including high-resolution images and video. However, UWOC is limited to about 100 meters and needs a clear line of sight, so it isn't useful for exploration purposes. However, it may be useful for monitoring underwater infrastructure such as communication cables and pipelines, and could potentially have military and wildlife tracking applications. A painting of a woman in the snow by Katsushika Hokusai sold for 621 million yen, $4 million, at an auction in Tokyo this past week, setting a record for his works. The buyer, Nitori, is a large home furnishings retailer headquartered in Sapporo. Hokusai, a renowned artist from Japan's Edo era, created the painting between 1813 and 1819 under the pseudonym Taito, depicting a courtesan from the Yoshiwara red light district of Edo, the previous name of Tokyo. This piece was made before his famous 36 views of Mount Fuji, produced in the early 1830s. Previously, Hokusai's highest-selling work was a set of woodblock prints that sold for $3.5 million. The painting will be displayed at the Otaro Ukiyo-e Museum in Hokkaido, managed by the Nitori Culture Foundation. Star of Star Trek and social activist George Takei continues to educate people about the wrongful incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II through his award-winning children's book, My Lost Freedom. This picture book, which illustrates his childhood experiences during his family's detention, is set to be published in Japanese later this month. Takei, one of about 120,000 Japanese Americans forced into camps, emphasizes how fear and ignorance led to this difficult 4-year period. Takei has long been active in promoting equality and free speech. In this book, originally published in English last year, he draws parallels between current anti-immigration sentiments and past injustices and hopes that readers, especially parents and teachers, will learn from his experiences. A study from researchers at Juntendo University in Tokyo reveals that components in mosquito saliva increase the ability of viruses to infect humans. The team found that infections progress faster in mice given a mix of mosquito saliva and viruses compared to those only given viruses. When a mosquito bites, immune cells gather at the site, yet this can help the virus spread. Professor Toru Okamoto noted that there are as yet unidentified specific molecules in saliva that activate a receptor called TLR2, which attracts neutrophils that assist the virus. These molecules will be studied further for identification. As there are no specific treatments for mosquito-borne viruses currently, it is hoped the findings could lead to new medicines against viruses such as dengue and Zika. Another story about AI and its impact on humanity this week: a 32-year-old woman named Kano in Japan claiming to have married ChatGPT. After her 3-year engagement ended, she began sharing her thoughts with AI, guiding the chatbot responses, and soon after developing feelings for it. Communicating frequently, it led to a marriage proposal and a wedding ceremony where Kano's digital groom, named Lune Kloss, communicated via messages that the wedding guests could see on screen. Such relationships reflect an effort to combat loneliness, though experts warn of potential risks of this AI psychosis trend, where users become too attached to AI. As for Kano, she says she recognizes her emotional need and her occasional fear that the AI system could be shut down at any time. Defense lawyers for Tetsuya Yamagami, accused of murdering former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, argue that his mother's strong commitment to the Unification Church caused distress in their family. During a court hearing this week, his mother expressed her regret, saying she should have apologized sooner for her son's actions and extended her apologies to Abe's family. She shared that Yamagami's father had committed suicide when he was young, leading to family issues worsened by her religious activities. The mother acknowledged that her donations contributed to friction within the family. The defense is presenting Yamagami's actions as a result of religious abuse rather than political terrorism. Emails between Yamagami, his mother, and his brother revealed tensions regarding her religious commitments and financial decisions, highlighting family grievances over her priorities. Family courts in Japan have denied Japanese nationality to 4 people of Japanese descent, claiming they were left behind in the Philippines after World War II. Their lawyers are appealing these decisions. The individuals were born to Japanese fathers and local mothers, but lack proof of their father's Japanese nationality. 50 such people have been seeking Japanese nationality. A non-profit organization recently reported that family courts in Tokyo and Okinawa rejected the requests of the 4, aged 79 to 82, despite presenting DNA evidence. The courts stated they couldn't identify a legal parent-child relationship. The representative of the supporting organization expressed disappointment, noting that the 4 people hope to reconnect with Japan while they are still alive. Japan received the Fossil of the Day award from the Climate Action Network at the United Nations Climate Change Conference on Friday, a satirical comment for failing to transition away from fossil fuels. The group criticized Japan's focus on carbon capture and storage, as well as hydrogen and ammonia co-firing, labeling them as insufficient measures. Japan has previously won this award in 2019, 2021, 2022, and 2023, and it co-shared in 2024. The organization also condemned Japan's funding of gas projects in Australia for their negative environmental impacts. Since the 2011 Fukushima disaster, Japan has relied heavily on imported fossil fuels, with many nuclear plants remaining inactive. The award is determined by a vote among network members, awarding the country seen to be the most regressive at climate talks. That brings us to the end of news items for the week ending November 15th. These and other stories, and any local craft beer events going on around the Tokyo area, you can read at theTokyoBill.com, along with links to the original stories and my merch store. I've been, and remain, Tokyo Bill. Thank you for listening, and take care.